We are just one day away from Fight Night in El Paso. It's actually going to be Fight Day and Fight Night. It's an all-day affair at the Haskins Center. We've talked about it for the last couple of weeks right now, getting ready for the PBC show tomorrow afternoon with Frampton, Gonzalez Jr., and Areola and Kasi, and then Showtime Championship Boxing tomorrow evening at the Haskins Center. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. battling Marcos Reyes in the main event. You've got McJoe Arroyo and Arthur Villanueva, and you've also got one of the better young up-and-coming fighters you will find in the sport. He's undefeated at 17-0 with 14 knockouts. Amir Imam is going to be in action as well as he takes on Fernando Angulo. And with us right now, a man who needs no introduction, one of the great all-time promoters in the sport, still active today. He represents Amir, and he's in El Paso right now. I'm talking about Don King, who joins us on the show. Don, first off, it's been 20 years since I've last spoken to you, and what's ironic about the first conversation we ever had together was you were promoting the Mike Tyson-Peter McNeely fight at the time in Vegas, and when we got done with the interview, you flew us out to Vegas for the fight, and that was the first of probably about more than a dozen championship fights that I have actually witnessed covering that in Vegas. So I'm grateful for you giving me my start, and I'm happy that we've got you back 20 years later.
Well, Steve, it's just great. That shows you what relationships are. Relationships are more important than money, and so you must be able to deal with people with the respect, the cordiality that gives you a return situation. You know what I mean? So I'm very happy to hear that, it pleases me to know that you're such a great guy now in Sportstalk. So I'm here to tell you about this second coming of this young man he called Amir Imam. This man is ready to call out Floyd Mayweather because that's about the only one that will be able to stand in there with him if he continues to keep his head sound and his feet on the ground. So it's a thing here where it's going to be a great show tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it with great excitement. And I'm thinking about my dear friend, the Madiba, that's Nelson Mandela. His birthday is tomorrow, and he always says, take a few minutes out of your day to give something to the people. Well, tomorrow we're going to give something to the people with a fight with Hernandez Angulo and Amir Imam. That's going to be to give to the people because it's going to be a fight for the people. And that's what makes me last like I do, is being a promoter of the people, by the people, and for the people. And my magic lies in my people ties. So I'm delighted to be here in El Paso and Texas, and we are ready to rumble. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a thrilling event tomorrow night. But I want everyone to pay special attention to this young kid, the young master, they call him, Amir Imam. Let's see if he can fulfill the prophecy.
Tell me about him, because I know 4 years ago he was at the U.S. Olympic trials, won a silver medal in the Olympics in 11 at the trials, and somebody that has been really impressive as of late. Would you say that the Fidel Maldonado Jr. fight was probably kind of the turning point for Amir's career?
Yes, actually all of them, because he's a thinking young man. He's a thinking boxer. He does not go in with the flurries and his mind be there. His mind is clear. He methodically goes. He gets knocked down, he gets back up. And that's something that Nelson Mandela said. It's not about getting knocked down. It's about those who can arise after being knocked down. And so you have to be able to deal with all. That's why this is a fitting and proper place where they're celebrating around the world a man who put 27 years into the penitentiary for fighting for other people and fighting for right. And so when you fight for the people, God comes in and gives you an inspiration and a motivation that's second to none. So this young kid, if he stays this way, ain't nothing is going to stop him. And the only one I say, like, we're going to call out Floyd. Floyd says his last fight is in September. I'm going to persuade him or prevail upon him to give this young kid an opportunity so he can pass the torch, you know what I mean, and let a living legend, let another guy come in because he's old and going on. This young kid is young and coming on, and you give him an opportunity in the land of opportunity. So we're going to try to see if all of these things we're saying, these grandiose things that you're saying about him, whether he can fulfill that prophecy tomorrow night. And if he does that, then I'm going out for the biggie all the way down, Steve. And it's bringing all the young kids. They're tomorrow's future, not only for boxing. Look what boxing has done. It has opened the doors in all sports and all negotiations to give fighters much more money than they ever received in the history of the sport. So we got to work toward doing those type of things that make things happen for the betterment of the sport. And being here in El Paso with Steve on Sportstalk is just simply phenomenal. I'm just excited as I can be. And I love the story, and we're going to work together, and working together works.
Legendary boxing promoter Don King with us on Sports Talk. He's in El Paso. He'll be watching Amir tomorrow night as that title eliminator takes place. I love the fact that you're mentioning Mayweather and going right to the top, because that tells me that when you look at this young 24-year-old prospect right now, you are putting him in that class. You could see that down the road he's got a chance to truly become one of the great next young fighters in the sport of boxing.
Absolutely, and then what I want to do is help him in the sport of boxing to be able to become that, but then be in that and for the recognition and to be able to deal with the people. The people are the most important. That is why in our Constitution we say, we the people. We're supposed to be governed by the consent of the governed. But yet what we're doing now, we find guys that we think will be leaders, we send them to Washington, then they become a part of the problem that we send them there to solve. So we have to be able to deal with that. And in so dealing with it, people around the world are seeking freedom and trying to make ways and means to have it. You know what I mean? You got the greatest country in the world is America, and it has the words that are so deeply tiered into our heart and the soil of this great nation, one land, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You know what I mean? We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among these which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These words are indelible. They cannot be removed. We must live up to them, not practice and have our behavior do something different for what the founding fathers put down for us. A new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men and women are created equal. So I'm fighting for the women's rights, and I'm fighting for people of color's rights, inclusive, Steve. Inclusive is what really counts. And everybody counts, you know what I mean? Everybody is important.
Don, I got to ask you, we talked about Mayweather earlier. In the 140-pound super lightweight class right now, Danny Garcia is the WBC champ. He's 30-0, 17 knockouts. You tell me, is that a fight that you think if Amir is, when he's victorious tomorrow, let's assume he wins the fight and stays undefeated, is Danny Garcia somebody that you could also envision Amir fighting for the title?
Absolutely, Steve. Danny Garcia would be fitting and proper. But I would really shoot at Floyd, you know what I mean? And I think that this is the way he should be, because he come in. If you remember a guy named Ingemar Johansson, and Floyd Patterson, first fight after being amateur was the heavyweight championship of the world. When you got it, you got to seize the time and grasp the opportunity. You know what I mean? You got to realize and appreciate the fact that even in losing, if he was to lose, it would be something invincible, because it'll be a lesson to teach you that, no matter how big you are, don't ever forget to be a humbling affair. Just keep God in your life, keep somebody there that makes you know that you got somebody that's bigger than you, because when you get bigger than life yourself and you think the sun sets and rises in you and that nobody can tell you anything, that is when you lose it. That is when you start to going downward rather than upward. So that's why I want to see him reach for the stars. And so I want to be able to get Floyd, whether he get past this guy tomorrow in an elimination, Hernandez and Gulo, he would go with that. You know what I mean? And if you get Garcia in the meantime, hey, we just keep getting the best until you can get the rest, And so therefore, you're hearing it live and in living color right here in El Paso. And tomorrow we'll see this is a test for him. He's been doing great. Now he's got a really formidable opponent. And so Nelson Mandela's words have to come true. There's nothing impossible. It just haven't been done yet. And so we got to be able to deal with that. So we're looking forward to the prognosticators and the conveyors of negativity to say, this is it, he won't make it. You know what I mean? We're going to snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat. You know what I mean? We're gonna be able to deal snatching the possible out of the impossible. And so we're going to work toward a great show here for Showtime tomorrow night when we take on Hernandez and Gulo, and to make things happen like they haven't happened before in a long time, and bring the people back to the sport of boxing. Which the sport of boxing broke down all the barriers, Steve, that opened the door to people of color around the world to be able to gain fame and influence, making more money than they get with the white boys and all, because they wasn't paying them. Now, because we planted that tree in the Rumble in the Jungle of $5 million an event for one night, now it has grown into $200 million for one night. So, I mean, it shows you that this still is the most remarkable sport in the world, and where any individual, mano a mano, goes into the ring and then he comes out with paid more money than anybody when you are out there to become the superhero and you become a star. And so that's what I'm looking forward for Amir Imam, to become that star I think he's that star now. He's a diamond in the rough, and I'm a diamond polisher.
Don King, legendary boxing promoter, with us on Sports Talk on our Village Inn hotline. You just referenced Rumble in the Jungle. You also brought us the Thrilla in Manila. So I got to ask you, after all the great fights, everything you've done, really a career that has spanned so many decades in the sport, Don, you tell me, now you're seeing guys like Al Heyman, Bob Arum's still there, Oscar De La Hoya is there. A lot of fighters have become promoters. As a guy that has pretty much done it all and seen it all in the sport, what are your thoughts on how we've seen boxing evolve from a promoter's standpoint over, let's say, the last 10 to 15 years?
You know what? It's sort of like being good, and you're sort of like, you have to be spanked every now and then. You never miss your water till your well goes dry. What is happening here is the athletes were dedicated and committed before because they didn't have no other option to go anywhere else. So therefore, they were trained like an award-winning pianist. He got to be able to practice every day, otherwise his fingers will lose the nimbleness to be able to do the Bach, the Chopin, to be able to play with the that piano with the greatest the greatest of the talent and skill, and be able to do that and create the type of music that is just immortal. All right, so you got to be able to practice. So that's what the boxer would do. Muhammad Ali practice. You know what I mean? It was come up with all type of phrases and things. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Your eyes can't hit what your hands can't see. Or your hands, you got to be able to deal with everything that they come up with that would be there, and then go out and fulfill that. All right, so you got Smoking Joe Frazier. You end up with George Foreman. Larry Holmes, a remarkable young man that was fighting with a pistol-like left jab. But now you broke the barriers down that was seemingly there. Now the fighters, and they will go into other classes of things because of the war that the civil rights movement and everything was out there pushing to break down barriers. Not treating the cause, treating the effects. You know what I mean? So we must go to the cause to change this and make it inclusive, where this America stands alone as the supreme liberty and freedom that's out there. Freedom is not free. You know what I mean? So you have to work at it, but that means being able to take and give and take, and be a part of the harmony that grows together. Working together works. And so what we got, the fighters, the athletes, everyone that do this. I started the Venus and Serena. I started them out as young kids, helping their mother and their father. You know what I mean? And so now look at that, Serena and them getting grand slams and Venus grand slams. You know what I mean? So people that they would never think they would play tennis, you know what I mean, come out and play tennis. So golf, you get, your Tiger Woods with golf. You give people an opportunity. Things happen that you never would dream would happen. Give them the opportunity, and look at you. You know what I mean? If they did 10 years, whatever it was long ago, and now you're the top guy here in El Paso, you know what I mean, working on radio for ESPN. It's fabulous, and it's growing and getting better and better. You're getting better. So this is what I'm talking about. In America, we are the land of opportunity. Let us give opportunity in the land of opportunity. Let us grasp the opportunity and be able to bring others and reach back and bring those who are less fortunate, bring them on board. You know what I mean? Don't never be so big that you can ignore and look down to people. Be able to talk to people, you know what I mean, with the respect and admiration of a fellow human being. And this is what we got to do to make our nation a better nation, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm working for, a better America.
Are you happy where the sport of boxing is today, Don?
Yes, I am. I'm happy with the sport of boxing being there, because all of the different extraneous things that happen, Picasso was drawing them on the pictures on the walls in the caves, you know what I mean? And then the gladiators, you know what I mean? Where you don't sit in, there's no other sport like boxing, and it works to life, to the advantageous of life. You get knocked down, you dust yourself up, you get back up, and you get back into the game. You don't go out there and feel sorry for yourself. If you run out of gas, there's no petrol station in sight. You know what I mean? You got to be able to deal with your problem right before you. You know what I mean? You can't procrastinate. You can't try to be able to circumvent. You got to deal with it as mano a mano. You know what I mean? And so this is what makes it so great, because in life you're going to have problems. You're going to be finding that people that use their different remarks and different things they do. If you're fighting racism, you're fighting racism. If you're fighting segregation, you're fighting segregation. If you're fighting a domineering force, that's tyranny. You got to fight tyranny. So you got to be fighting in life at all times in the struggle to live and exist. You know what I mean? So you got to be able to get it from boxing like no other sport. You have to be able to stand up and be accountable, respectably accountable. And so you got to be able to have your own determination and be able to make people understand, but they're not doing it with viciousness, the divisiveness and hostility, but with unanimity, friendship, and zeal, coming together, working together, and that's what you have to make happen. So in the field of boxing, boxing has been a door opener to many things that no other sport would do. But at the same time, everybody, everybody is fighters from the womb to the tomb. Boxing is just a category of athleticism. You know what I mean? So we got to be able to deal with what people really need, is to give them a little love, give them a little understanding, make yourself feel and put yourself in their shoes. You know what I mean? So therefore, you can use that word that Aretha sings so beautifully, RESPECT, respect. And if you can get the respect and you give the respect, Matthew 7:12, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. If you can carry that type of motto around, you got to be able to win it all the way down the line, because we be so inconsiderate, and when we get our heads out the lion's mouth, we do to somebody else exactly what they was doing to you. You know, oh, it's different now because you being the guy that's doing it. You know what I mean? Is it any different when you were the recipient of this tyranny, this brutal treatment, of this degradation? No. You know what I mean? So you can't play it like we are in America, the masters of hypocrisy, and that's what's going around the world. And we must stop that because it's true. So therefore, if we don't be able to knock it out, we'll be just like what's that called, that city named Babylon. You know what I mean? And so you got to understand that what you deal is what you're gonna have to play against. You know, so I feel good about being here in El Paso, and I feel extraordinarily good to be on the air with you, knowing that I flew you to Las Vegas and you was there to be able to really see what the imagination would bring when there came the wishes to come through, and to be able to deal with this type of a sport. And now you've grown to be number one at El Paso, and it makes me feel good all over. So I'm excited about this fight tomorrow night. I'm looking for all the people that is there, and around the world is Madiba Day. We're dedicating this fight to Madiba and Rocky Graziano and all of the different ones that was there. But it's Madiba Day because he paid the price for a man he's a man of a century. To go to jail 27 years, come out 27 years, and be the president of a country that was apartheid. You know what I mean? That is remarkable. In any book, any stretch of the imagination, God works in mysterious ways. And so I want to be able to say that I'm here in El Paso, mi caso, su caso, mexicano, you know what I mean? And we're going to deal with all of the thrills and the victories of Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata, making things happen. And that's what we're here to do. Tomorrow is the day and tomorrow, because we are rolling right now. And when we go on the air today, everybody's going to know we got a great event here. And then tomorrow, we're going to fulfill the prophecy. It's going to be excitement. It's going to be clamor. It's going to be, what time is it? In mere time. You know what I mean? He can write the book down and make things happen. What time is it? It's a mere time. How long? Not long. It's going to be ready. So we want everybody that can be here on the scene to check it out. But if you can't be here on the scene, catch it on the screen on Showtime. You know what I mean? Because we're going to be there, and it's going to be the fight of the evening. Heard it right here on Sportstalk with me talking to Steve. So now let's make that prediction, and let's see what really happens when you go out there to watch it if you ain't here. But if you can get here, come on down to the center here and be a part of it live and in living color.
Don King is ageless, folks. He is ageless. It's amazing. You listen to him now, it's like you're in a time machine going back 20, 30, 40 years. By the way, before I let you go, I noticed that they profiled you in one of the recent Sports Illustrated, July 6th. I think Chris Mannix wrote the article about you. Were you happy with the piece in SI?
You know, I look at people for their talent and what they do. You know, as long as they spell my name right, and the mere fact that they would be coming to see what I'm doing at 40 years later, that's good enough for me. What they write is things that they've been sometimes somewhat coached and come out with what they've heard, you know, and that's why when I'm getting my own network, which I've been working on, for circumventions get out there, but when you get it where you can retaliate and you can bring the people, you can bring the backup of what you're saying, then you got something that you can deal with and live with, because everything that I do, you can back it up. You know what I mean? I'm going to substantiate it. So they make your reputation means everything. And so what we had to do is to make bad good. So in the vernacular of the ghetto, you know, when you say the guy's a bad guy, he's a good guy. So you have to be able to deal with all types of trickerations to make things happen. And so you deal with that in life. Chris Mannix is a good writer. He's a very good writer, you know what I mean? So he had so much to write about that he said left out, but then he would have to write a book, man, because look at here, man. You heard about Jesus Christ before Jesus and what BC and AD and BC, whatever it is. So you got to be able to deal with before the penitentiary with me and after the penitentiary. Don't forget now, I spent 4 years in the penitentiary, went in there to be on shock probation. And then shock probation turned into 4 years. But I made the time serve me rather than to serve the time. I educated myself in the penitentiary. And when I went in with a what you call it, a pea shooter. But when I come out with atomic bomb of knowledge and understanding of others, you know what I mean? Thinking that I went in thinking I'd been taken advantage of. But when I came out, I understood this is what life is. You're going to have knocks and downs. You're going to have bruises. But it's how you react to them and how you come back, not with bitterness and hostility, but coming back preaching friendship and zeal and working with people and, you know, taking the 2x4 out of your eye before you try to take the taking the splinter, you know what I mean? So you try to take the splinter out your fellow man's eye. You know, you got that 2x4 in your eye because you're all confused. You can't see how things really are. And the other guy got a splinter in his eye. You got to get this splinter out, you know, and you feel like, you know, you've been taken advantage of. No. You know, that's the way the cards were dealt, and that's what we have to deal with. But you make that time be a servant to you. You know what I mean? And so that's why we have to be able to make things happen, and I can relate to the people because I love the people, every race, color, creed, and religion, and I don't have no time to be out there vilifying or accusing accusations, you know what I mean? No. I want to find things that I can praise you for, things that are happening in life where if there's a shortcoming, I can give you a hint to that, and you can make it a long coming so you can straighten it out. And if it's something good, I want to enhance that, you know, extol that. Those are the virtues of life. So we got to be able to work together, man. And if we got a country with a platform of freedom, justice, and equality, let's make it become a reality to all those, the downtrodden, the poor, and denied.
We've come full circle on this interview, folks. 20 years ago, Don King sent me to Vegas for my first ever fight in person to see Tyson fight. 20 years later, he's in El Paso in our backyard with one of his fighters, Amir Imam, who's going to be in the ring tomorrow, taking on, in a title eliminator, Fernando Angulo. Listen, enjoy your time in El Paso. It was great to have you on the program. Can't thank you enough. And let's come back and talk a little boxing and reminisce with us down the road, okay?
God bless, Steve, and thank you so much for having me. And everybody, there's anybody, tune in tomorrow. Be a part of this growth and development that we have going on right here with ESPN, Steve at Sports Talk. Talk to you later, Steve. God bless everybody.